Hey, what is going on, guys? This is just a quick comparison video explaining the different types of investment accounts that I use and why I use them. So first off, what do I not use? I do not use any of the bank's services. And it's not because I'm anti-bank, it's because they simply just have extremely high fees. What do I mean? Let's just dive in here. So here is Scotia iTrade, and you can see here that they have two different types of accounts. They have one for active traders and they have one for people that are not as active. And so for someone like myself, I'm a passive investor, so I'm not gonna pump out the types of trades that day traders would typically do. So I'm probably gonna be in this lower tier. So this means that I'm gonna pay $10 per trade that I put on, which is a lot of money when you start looking at some of the other options. Let's look at TD. So here's TD. Look at, we've got a $10 trade fee again. So anytime you buy a stock and you sell a stock, that's buying it for 10 bucks, that's selling it for 10 bucks. Very expensive. You know, when it comes to options, you're doing the $10 fee and then you're paying $1.25 per contract. So this is a lot of money. I could see the benefit as to why people would want to go with their bank, and that's because you can just quickly get your money in and out and you have everything all in one location. So that's great. For me, I actually don't even have one of the main banks, and that's because I don't like fees. So I use Simply, and I mean, there's a discount down below if you're interested in signing up with them. They have a no fee checking account, and that just means that you don't have to pay any fees for your banking. So I pay no fees there, and in my investment accounts, I have extremely low fees for the types of accounts that I have. So if we actually look over here on the screen, this is one of the accounts I want to highlight first. So let's look at Wealthsimple and let's talk about them a bit and learn about why I find them to be beneficial. First off, before I go into that, I want to let you know Wealthsimple has a lot of very valuable information. They have a huge education center and a lot of different ways that you can learn. Like if you look over here, you can see this learn button, personal finance 101, you know, explore categories. You've got all of these different types of articles for beginners. Like, I mean, it has got countless amounts of information, and it's all catered to people that are just getting started. Like if you do not want to feel overwhelmed, Wealthsimple is a great place to start. They have an awesome onboarding experience. They're fantastic customer service, but I don't find everything to be useful for all different types of investors. But let's just go into why they are good. So first off, commission, $0. So banks are charging 10, Wealthsimple's charging 0. But again, that's for Canadian stocks. And when you scroll down, you can see here that, you know, we've got this. This is the thing to really pay attention to, this whole foreign exchange fee, right? A foreign exchange fee is when you convert Canadian dollars to American dollars and vice versa. So when you fund a USD account, so when you are putting your money into the stock market, and you're trying to invest in a US stock, say like the S&P 500, and you want to just buy some SPY, right? Well, you're going to have to pay that conversion fee. So if you have $1,000, then you're going to have to pay $15 one way and $15 the other way when you go to sell it. So it's a lot more than the banks. So that's where, you know, it can trick you. But at the same time, they have things like fractional trading where you can buy things in smaller quantities. So like somebody might have to put on, you know, a trade of $350 just to get themselves into a particular stock. Well, with Wealthsimple, you can put in $10 and you have just that fractional share, and then you gain the interest the same way that you would just holding that stock. You just have a smaller percentage of it. And so it's good for those reasons. You know, for those that, you know, are really wanting to take advantage of the way that you can utilize this, if you are considering it and you do want to invest in things, say like the S&P 500 or different types of bonds and stuff like that, there are Canadian alternatives. And there actually are Canadian alternatives to have sort of like umbrella accounts to be more diversified, to even invest in international stocks, and you're using Canadian currency. So in a lot of cases, you can actually use a Wealthsimple account and you can put it in there, set it and forget it. And so for me, I use this account for just simple portfolio allocations, just breaking everything down into different buckets. And I just put, a certain amount of money, each month into those different buckets. And I mean, you can take those little micro transactions and put them in there. So it's really good for that reason. Now, if we go over to Questrade, we can see here on Questrade, their fees. And keep in mind, I've been using these products for, a number of years. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar with them. So I will be going into giving more of a deep dive into how some of these products work, maybe in some later explainer videos. But for this one, I just wanted to give a quick overview and just kind of get everything launched. And if you are wanting to receive updates on the website that I have, I do have a link where you can say that you want to receive updates. And then when there is something new that I use or a different way that I use it, you can get those updates. Or simply just subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll receive those updates as well. So going into Questrade, we've got our trading fees. So we've got that being free for when you purchase an ETF. So, if you're wanting to buy something like, say, the S&P 500, you want to buy some SPY, you can do that completely for free. Again, we talked about that US currency thing. Well, there's a technique called Norbert's Gambit, and I'll leave a link down below where you can find out some more information about it. But it's a technique that's used, and I might even do an explainer video on it, but it's a technique that's used for when you're trying to convert currency from Canadian to US within Questrade. And so it's a really cool sort of technique where you can buy a stock in Canadian dollars and then you have a way of converting it over to US traded type of stock, and then you sell it and then you get your US currency. And so very low fee for doing something like that. And then you can go and buy these ETFs for free. So that's a really good way to do things a little different. And if you're trying to explore things like getting into options trading and have like more of like a robust system where you get a lot more data and things to look at, charts are a little bit more crisp, I find Questrade is really good in that regard. And so if you're really trying to get yourself set up and you want to explore how to be an investor a little bit more, maybe get into more advanced trading strategies, Questrade is a great starting point for that kind of an investor. And if you have larger chunks and you're going to get into US stocks, I definitely think that Questrade is a comparable option there. And then we've got Interactive Brokers. So you might be saying, man, this is a lot of accounts. And yes, I've used all of these accounts and they all served a different purpose, and I needed to explore and find different options as I was going down this path. So why did I switch to Interactive Brokers if I had all those advantages with Wealthsimple and Questrade? Well, if you want to get into the futures market, you can't do that on Questrade. Frankly, you can't even do that on most accounts in Canada. In the States, I believe you have a lot more options. Also, I'm just really jealous of people in the States because they have such lower fees when they have their trading accounts. I don't know why Canadians have to pay so much for trading. But anyways, that's something I'm not going to get into. But for Interactive Brokers, if you look over here now, we can see that their fees, you're just paying a straight up flat fee, for stocks and ETFs. It's so cheap. But when you look at, options and futures here, which is a lot of what I use Interactive Brokers for, a lot of my complex trades, your fees are reduced significantly, like in comparison to Questrade. Like if I go over here and I look at my options, I've got $10 that I have to pay in options, and then I've got $1 per contract. If you buy or sell like 6 options, that's like $16 right there. If you go over to Interactive Brokers and you buy or sell 6, you've got this 65 cents, right, per contract, and you times that by 6. I mean, you're a fractional in comparison to that. And then being able to participate in the futures market, and there's just so much more that opens up. And then when I started getting into all the features, there's so many more charts and different ways to explore the tool sets a lot better. So I would say overall, I probably like Interactive Brokers the most for me personally. I would say Questrade is a good secondary tool that I use. So for Interactive Brokers, I use it as my main margin account. They've got awesome interest rates as well too. Like the money that's sitting in your account, you make like huge dollars. So they're going to pay you 4.58% interest in USD dollars, like for whatever you have in USD dollars. Keep in mind there's a threshold here. So, you know, if you have under $10,000, you're going to get 0% on that. But everything above that, you get that 4.58%. And again, you have to have a certain amount in your account to get that full 4.58%. But think about this. You can have a savings account and you're not even accumulating the kind of cash that you can get here. Just even using Interactive Brokers for a savings account is a healthy alternative depending on your interest rates, if you just do some comparisons here. So there's a lot of competitive edges to using something like Interactive Brokers. So that's why I use it as one of my main accounts. But then I like using something like Questrade for, you know, like my tax-free savings account and my RRSP account. For my tax-free savings account, there's this thing called buying power. And so I can actually use all the money in my tax-free savings account towards giving me buying power for my margin account inside of Questrade. So I could have nothing in my margin account. I could have a whole bunch of money in my tax-free savings account, and I could actually put on trades in my margin account because I have this buying power that I could utilize. So that's a great feature. As well, there's no like annual fees for their tax-free savings account or their RRSP account. And it doesn't really matter if I can't do trades in the futures market or even a lot in options, because in tax-free savings account and RRSP accounts, you're limited. You can't even do a lot of those trades. So in a lot of cases, using Questrade for those types of accounts is fantastic. And so that's pretty much how I use Questrade. That's how I use Interactive Brokers. And then Wealthsimple, it's just really just small, simple allocations. I just find their platform to be just really simple and easy, just to have a simple portfolio allocation set up and, you know, just put in a little bit of money here and there and just put it into one of the buckets, and that's it. And so that's how I use all of my investment products. So definitely check out down below. There's some discounts that you could get if you want to sign up for one of those products. As well, I highly recommend using something like an antivirus, malware protection, and even a VPN, and making sure that you have like two-factor authentication set up for all of your investment accounts. And that's so that nobody can come in and like steal all of your information or steal money out of your accounts. Once you start getting into investing, you start to become a target. And so you really want to protect yourself. So I recommend that. Another thing I recommend is getting yourself a will. Like once you start getting assets, you know, unfortunately, people will fight over that. And so if you have a will, it just makes things very clear. I use a product called Willful. There's information on that below. There's another product that I use called Malwarebytes. It's really good for having a VPN, malware protection, antivirus software. So that's something that I use. And that's the accounts that I use. I hope you find this information useful.